welcome everybody here to the X-Bomb Sports Live Show. My name is Andrew Valentin. I hope you're all having a magical Monday. We are back and we are coming to you live here from the Illinois Media School here at the O'Hare campus, ladies and gentlemen, in the studios as well. Folks, I hope everybody out there has had a wonderful weekend. I'm so glad to be back because we had a doozy of a weekend indeed. A lot of news to break down as football is ending. We're going to talk about the NBA and then finish it off with the Super Bowl as well. We've got all the NBA trade deadline stuff to go over. And then, yeah, we're going to make our Super Bowl picks on this, ladies and gentlemen. But if you guys want to follow us for this very quick show that we're going to be doing here on this Monday, you guys can hit us up, of course, as always. Find us on the YouTube side and the Twitch side. That is twitch.tv/xbombsports and youtube.com/xbombsports. You guys can also as well follow us on our social media at xbombsports on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And any more questions or comments or anything you have for us as well, that is xbsportsofficial@gmail.com, where we will answer your questions. Which today, guys, we were going to answer some of your questions, but obviously because of time constraints, we're probably not going to do that, so we apologize. We will get to your questions. Again, not this Friday, probably next Friday when I come back. I got a little bit of business I got to get taken care of this week, so hopefully I can get back and we can start answering some of those questions for you guys as well. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's jump right into this, shall we? Because this weekend, the NBA finally put themselves on the map in terms of being a story, right? For the entirety of what has been their season, right? And they're about at the halfway point, or past the halfway point, I should say, at this point. The NBA has kind of been a little bit more on the silent side other than like the Christmas Day games and a few other stuff like that. A few other noticeable moves here and there and stuff. But Saturday, like all of you, I'm sure, I was up late at night, as I usually am, at work, just doing my job, and the next thing I know, I see a message come through on my phone that I don't believe, and I said, that can't be right. Immediately texted everybody, and I don't think I broke the story to everybody, but I'm pretty sure everybody was just like, yeah, this is not true, this can't be real, and sure enough it is. The Los Angeles Lakers, have made a trade with the Dallas Mavericks in a 3-team trade that includes the Utah Jazz that is sending Luka Doncic over to Los Angeles. Dallas no longer is going to have their star. So Luka is headed to LA, folks. That's right. I know when I say that, you're going to go, that sounds crazy. No, that's true. This trade came out of nowhere. It has really blown up all over the place, right? Everybody has been shocked by this. It is still rocking the world to this point, right? And it is only, and we're now in the process of watching the second trade now go down as well. But for this one, this certainly catches our eye more than anything, right? Luka Doncic is obviously one of the best players in the NBA right now, a top 10 player easily, top 5 player maybe, depending on how you want to view him in the league. He just took the Dallas Mavericks to the finals. Why would you trade him away? At 25 years old, he is in the prime of his career. Why would you send him away? Well, if you were to ask Nico Harrison, the general manager, apparently in the press conference and in statements that were made, it has been widely noted in the Mavericks front office that there were rampant concerns about Luka Doncic's body and his conditioning of his body. Because look, at 6'7", about 225, 30 pounds of what he plays at, you better be in the best of shape to be able to kind of handle the pressure and the workload that is required for you to play in this league. And look, Luka's not a small dude. He's a big, big guy, okay? He needs that body weight to be able to kind of take the punishment and all that stuff. But at the same time, there are moments where I think he does let himself go. And I believe the heaviest he's ever ballooned up to was like 240, which is a lot for a guy like him, who is so special and so well-rounded a player in terms of his offensive skills. You don't want to lose any type of ability off your game, so you need to maintain a solid weight level to be able to handle the game and to be able to let the game be able to come to you in that kind of fashion. So, obviously, you can understand those concerns. And the other part of it was they were estimating that his Supermax contract, which is the contract he gets after the deal that he just signed, coming off his rookie deal, was to be estimated at, and I know how shocking this may sound, $350 million, right? For a 4-year, 5-year contract, or a 4-year contract, I think it was, which is just outrageous, of course, right? And the Mavericks weren't sure if they were ready to pay that, because then you're paying into, I believe it's the second apron, which is in their salary cap, which then means then that they have to pay back more taxes on the money that they're losing because they're paying more to their players than at that point. There's a whole system in that, and I don't know if the Mavericks were willing to commit to that, so they make this move. And the move is that in the process of this, there's a few pieces sent here and there in between, but the main bulk of this trade is that it is a Luka Doncic for Anthony Davis swap. And that means, yes, Anthony Davis is going to Dallas. He's going to Big D, folks. That's right. The man who is one of the top 10 players in the league when he's healthy, when he's on his best, Anthony Davis is going to the Dallas Mavericks in this trade as well, which Nico Harrison then also noted on this too, that the reason for this move was that this was a chance to get a player that was more sole-focused on defense, who is a well-rounded player himself as well, who they feel is in a position to help them win right now. They feel like they're a win-right-now kind of team, and possibly for the future. And I get it. Like, look, at the core of what looking at this thing on paper, on your laptop, this trade makes sense, right? Anthony Davis going to Dallas or Luka going to Los Angeles, absolutely, you can understand when these guys explain it and you see it on paper. It does make sense. Luka's 25 going to Los Angeles. He gives them a long-term star for Hollywood, for La La Land, to be able to say, we've got the guy that's going to take over for when LeBron finally retires. If he retires. He may never retire now because of this one, right? And in Dallas, it gives them a big man that plays defense that they've desperately been looking for to help Luka and Kyrie Irving. But now, Luka's gone. So now this is going to fall on the shoulders of Anthony Davis, who's going to have Kyrie Irving as his complementary piece in order to be able to be successful. And again, on paper, on your laptop, it may read and sound like a good thing. But the problem is, though, that conceptually in your mind, like I am, you're going, no, this just doesn't make sense still. Fundamentally, this just doesn't process for my brain. I fully get that. I think we all do. It's not an easy thing to kind of be like, oh, yeah, of course, no, you're going to move one piece and move another and then boom, and yeah, of course, right? But, like, it's not translating in our minds because for the Lakers, this looks like a win. For the Mavericks, it's like, yeah, but does this really help you? Because on one end for the Lakers, you got to say, is Luka going to get back in shape? And is he going to be allowed to be able to be the star that we've seen him be offensively? And LeBron is going to have to kind of take a back seat maybe and kind of be like a secondary guy. Is he going to be willing to do that? He's already had to share the spotlight with Anthony Davis. And speaking of Anthony Davis, is Anthony Davis going to be able to work in Dallas and stay healthy? Because the Mavericks are only going to be able to win now if AD can be on the court at all times. And that's not always possible. He's injury prone. He's constantly getting hurt. Bumps and bruises are now becoming a huge effect. And he's an older player now. He's 31, 32. Like, he's not a young pup anymore. So I get it. On paper, this trade, this move looks fine. But for what we've seen from these two guys and what we know about them, you would think it's going to help both teams. And I think in some way it will. But at the same time, I'm looking at these two players and I'm going, yeah, but there's also giant question marks for both of them going to this team, right? And I still have question marks even more so still for the Lakers and the Mavericks in terms of you have these two young, well, one young player in Los Angeles, this veteran, I think potentially first ballot Hall of Famer in Anthony Davis. Can you build around these two and secure a successful couple of seasons with him, because you don't know how long you'll have with Anthony Davis, and you don't know if you'll be able to have Luka Doncic for the long term, because he might get upset and start requesting a trade if it doesn't start working in Los Angeles. There's tons of questions around that trade still. Nevertheless, it blew up, and it's one of the biggest trades in NBA history. And for what the value was, I think is still something that blows people's minds, because AD is a good player. But I don't know if I wouldn't have still tried to get a first-round pick for Luka as well. It just feels like it was a little light, is I think kind of what comes down to. It doesn't feel like they're getting the amount that they probably should be for the player that they just traded, for what they just did as well, going into the playoffs and having a very strong run. But outside of that, we had another trade that happened on Sunday, which not as big, but certainly here in the city of Chicago, it's made noise. And that is, on the base of this, is that the Sacramento Kings are trading their star guard, De'Aaron Fox, to the San Antonio Spurs. Finally, they pulled the trigger. This has been something that's been in the talks since this offseason, that De'Aaron Fox was being wasted in Sacramento, that the Kings might be looking to explore a trade for him in order to be able to advance any opportunity of them to finally be able to rebuild the proper way with a young core and build themselves back up. They tried with De'Aaron Fox. They had a small window. It did not work. Here's an opportunity, though, to get a bunch of draft picks, to get a bunch of players to help this team get their legs back underneath them. The Kings have never really had that. They've always kind of stood up, but it's like Bambi, right? It's always kind of standing up on very wobbly legs and trying to keep themselves, from falling down too much. But they just continue to kind of hit the ground over and over and over again. I know for a lot of people it's like, this is crazy. But here's the thing. For the Spurs, this is a beautiful move, right? For the Kings, it's pretty plain and simple. You're starting over from the ground up. You're going to work your way back to the top. You're hoping that these draft picks will either find you stars that are already established and give you them as trade pieces, or you're going to draft a whole new group of young individuals over the next 5 years. They're going to help this team, get better. But for the Spurs, your core is now being built. Victor Wembanyama is your franchise, established. Steven Castle is a great role player that I think, for me, I see him as being a similar player to Tyrese Maxey. Not in what Tyrese Maxey can do in terms of scoring, but what he is capable athletically and scoring-wise. I think he can be that guy. Everything that Tyrese Maxey has been when Joel Embiid's been on the court, a 22-point scorer, things like that. I think Steven Castle could be that player. Devin Vassal's a good shooter. Jeremy Sochan has been a fine piece at the forward spot, right? I mean, Harrison Barnes still is actually a pretty decent player for them too. And Chris Paul's done a great job just doing what he usually does by running the point and making passes and making everybody look great, getting the ball out and distributing it. Now you bring in De'Aaron Fox, one of the fastest guys in the league, a guy who can score from the court, right? Not the best three-point shooter, but not a guy that's not willing to be able to take tough shots either. And then contributions that he can have with a guy like Victor Wembanyama. I mean, let your imagination run away with that one. De'Aaron Fox is 27 years old. He's in the prime of his career. You're giving him an opportunity to play with the next phenom, as far as I'm concerned, the next face of the league. 7'4", 21-year-old Victor Wembanyama, who is right now one of the best defensive players in the league and is improving in his scoring, and his rebounding is impeccable. And by the way, for everything the Spurs lost in this in terms of trade, because the Kings got back 3 first-round draft picks, guess what, folks? The Spurs didn't lose the Atlanta first-round pick. What does that mean, Andrew? It means that they still have a shot to get a lottery pick because Atlanta's pick is unprotected. That means the Atlanta Hawks lose out because they just lost Jalen Johnson, one of their important players on their team. They lose out. There's a good chance the Spurs, after getting De'Aaron Fox with Steven Castle, Devin Vassell, Harrison Barnes, Victor Wembanyama, Jeremy Sochan, Chris Paul, this team may end up getting the number 1 pick in some possible way and maybe, just maybe, get Cooper Flagg. Holy crap, that couldn't happen, right? No, that actually could happen. 100% that could actually happen, folks. It sounds crazy, but it's the reality that actually could happen for here in the league. And that's insane to think that they would have 2 number 1 picks, 2 guys that are considered to be generational players. That doesn't happen. But San Antonio, it might. But on the other side of this too, folks, a part of this was another 3-team trade. Now, in this trade for the Kings and the Spurs, they needed a 3rd team. That 3rd team ended up being the Chicago Bulls. And this was the opportunity the Bulls were looking for. And this also gives the Kings a legitimate, I guess you could say, star to put on their team. Because Zach LaVine, the guy that everybody's been talking about finally moving off, the guy they've finally been talking about trading away, Zach LaVine is now officially off the Bulls. He is headed to the Kings. Something that's been talked about now for, 2 years? Zach LaVine being traded. This whole year, it's been talked about that the Kings had major interest in trading for Zach LaVine. Well, they finally got their guy. And they get to pair him back up with DeMar DeRozan again. And look, I understand that for some people they celebrate this move. They think that this is a really good move. They think that Zach LaVine leaving the Bulls is probably like, oh, thank goodness, finally. But I don't know what this does for Chicago. Like, the one benefit of this trade for the Bulls is that they got back their 2025 first-round pick from the Spurs that they traded away for DeMar DeRozan. That first-round pick is now all those little securities are off. It goes back to Chicago. So now if they lose out, that could be a top lottery pick in the draft, all depending, right? All depending on how bad this team can be. That's their one benefit. Now, they got Zach Collins from the Spurs and Kevin Huerter from the Kings, and Trey Jones came from the Spurs. They got like 3 players. Guys that'll probably be riding the bench mostly, see junk time. They won't do a lot of work. They won't do a lot for the team in terms of helping them in any kind of way to win games and stuff. They're going to be very basic, bare bones players. Because that's what they are. They're nothing very special. But what we're seeing right now from the Bulls is there's still a varying lack of direction. And they still have to make a move off of a guy, off of plenty of players on those teams. The guy that's like unmovable at this point for the Bulls would probably be Buzelis. Like, he's the one guy that you would just go like, no, we can't lose him. Like, he is your future. Now that Patrick Williams has gone to the bench, you've actually been able to see what Mattis Buzelis can actually do on the court. And the local kid is making good of his name. He actually shines. He's actually playing very well. And look, in some core, Zach LaVine's contract being moved off is great because now you don't have to worry about paying that money. But the problem is like, now ask the question, what's the direction for this basketball team? And I think you're going to come up with nothing but question marks. There's no clear-cut direction. There's no solid road that says, here's how you get there. It's a varying, winding road of just like, I don't know if we're going to be able to make it. I don't know if we're going to be able to solve this issue. There's too much going on here. It's a conundrum, and it's something that Chicago has never been able to fulfill. They've never been able to answer that question at all. It's been a situation that they've been stuck in for years now, for years. And finally they make this move, but at the same time, nothing satisfying comes from it other than they get back their draft pick that might become a good enough lottery pick to maybe get them a good player. But it's hard to tell because where are they fundamentally as a team? And for what they've gained back over this offseason and now in this trade, who's going in likelihood to give them an opportunity to be able to make them better for the long term? Because they don't have anything set up like they do in Oklahoma City, where they just have draft picks for days. They don't have anything like now, with what Utah's had and now the Kings have, where their future is pretty much set with draft picks and they can choose where to use them or trade them or whatever. The Bulls are just kind of like, look, here's our central pieces, and we just have to make do with what we have. They have to actually try and make this stuff work. Like, they got to find a way to either trade Patrick Williams, but more than likely, they got to just find a way to make him work. Dalen Terry is a guy, they just got to find a way to make him work. Giddey, Dosunmu, other guy. You can find trade targets for those players and get back draft picks or something. But a lot of it is you're just going to have to make do and find the answers wherever you can. Roll them out however you can. It's a difficult process. It's not one that's going to be easy. It's going to be a little bit kind of a head shaker. There's no no-brainers in this either for the Bulls. The only no-brainer would be if they end up with the number 1 overall pick, you're taking Cooper Flagg. But how likely is that? I mean, they have to get that number 1 pick, and they're in the play-in tournament right now, and there's like 10 teams that are doing worse than they are. The trade is great for San Antonio. It looks good for the Kings too. For the Bulls, it feels like they come out of this losing. With their only winning part of this is that they get back a draft pick they originally gave up for a player that now plays in Sacramento. I will say this. I'm on the last leg of being a Bulls fan at this point. I'm willing to let this season play out, but it's only because of the fact they got that first-round pick back, and now there is the possibility, the potential, that maybe they could get Cooper Flagg. But if they don't get Cooper Flagg now, I'm going to the Spurs. And I don't care who knows it. Like, we're done. And I may end it with the Bulls anyways, because if they have a big enough winning record, then what's the point? You're not getting Cooper Flagg. You're not getting one of the top players likely in college basketball that's going to help you in any way, shape, or form. I'll give them moral support in terms of being a Chicagoan, but being a true blue fan of wearing the red and the black and the white, we're done. I'm okay with cutting ties with a team when I've just said enough is enough. If it's not working for you, forget it. Leave. It's not working. Break up. It's a sports team. It doesn't mean anything, right? At the core, it doesn't mean anything. I just, like, how much more can Bulls fans take? Probably not a lot. You weren't going to get a lot for Zach LaVine anyway, so that was the best deal that you could get. But ultimately, still, it feels like, yeah, but you still came out almost a loss. You still came out under. You didn't take a W on this one. I mean, there's a lot of trades that still have to go on for the NBA deadline. It doesn't end until Thursday, February 6th. The deadline is going to have a lot more names included into it. You're going to have guys like Jimmy Butler brought up. Brandon Ingram's going to be brought up. You're going to have Nikola Vucevic for the Bulls be brought up. There's a lot of names that are going to be in the NBA trade deadline before this is over. Whether they actually get moved or not is going to be a big question, I'm sure. There's no doubt about that. But what I see from the Chicago Bulls, what I see from the Miami Heat, what I see from the New Orleans Pelicans, everybody's kind of spinning their wheels now trying to figure out what's the next best move. Is Brandon Ingram possibly going to go back to Los Angeles? Are we going to see Jimmy Butler maybe get traded to Phoenix after all of this debacle that's gone down? I know there's kind of been a lot of hearsay rumor on whether or not those moves will be made. Is Vucevic going to make his move to the Warriors and help them possibly get one last push to the playoffs? There's a ton of these dudes that are going to be name dropped left and right in terms of where they should go, who's the best fit, what team's going to be good for them. Boom, 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 boom. You're going to go through every iteration of what's best. But what ultimately I think is going to come out of this is that these guys are going to really start to take a lot of stock in the location and the team that they want to join for free agency and for the future, for the time being. There's so many Q&As that are out there right now for these guys, I'm sure, with a lot more questions more than answers. But I am intrigued to see how this deadline goes. It's already started off with a boom. And, I mean, we're talking about like Nova boom, supernova kind of boom. The rest of these trades are going to be kind of whimpers underneath because nothing's going to match the Luka Anthony Davis move. But we could see some of these big stars or relatively mid-range stars, I guess you could say. We're going to see a lot of these guys start to make moves too, I think, to try and get to teams where they have a better opportunity. I mean, Bradley Beal's another one. I've heard a lot for, Ben Simmons. Everybody keeps trying to tell me, or not everybody, but a handful of people are trying to tell me that Ben Simmons could have a Russell Westbrook revival. Yeah, right. Get a grip on reality, folks. Come on. One guy cares a lot about basketball and works hard at it, and the other one is Ben Simmons. That should say it all right there for you folks. But obviously, guys, let us know, what do you think about the NBA deadline situation? What are your thoughts on these trades? Let us know. We want to hear from you guys as usual. Give us the comments in the comments section down below on the YouTube, on the Twitch. We want to hear from you guys on that. And also, too, ladies and gentlemen, you can also hit us up as well at xpsportsofficial@gmail.com or at xbombsports on any of our social medias, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Let us know, comment, message us. What are your thoughts on all this stuff? We'd love to hear from you guys on that. And we're just going to jump right into this. Again, we had some personal questions I was going to answer. We'll save those for next Friday. Probably answer those then. But because it's this Sunday, Super Bowl time, folks. That's right. We're here. Chiefs, Eagles. It's going down, folks, in New Orleans Sunday. We are going to have ourselves a beautiful ball, ladies and gentlemen. The biggest question is, of course, what are we picking? Who are we looking at? How are we seeing this thing play out? Right now, as far as we've heard, I think the Chiefs are right now, I believe, favored for this game. Last time I checked. I mean, there's a lot of people that are really looking at this going, I mean, Eagles, man, they have to be favored in this thing, right? And as far as I can see right now, Kansas City is 1.5-point favorites. Right? They're right there on the mark. So they have an opportunity. But I don't know. To me, it's still got to be Kansas City. They're still the best team in the league as far as I'm concerned. I don't see them being any better. I don't see them any other way being a better team. I don't see them being beat is what I'm trying to get at. I might have been mincing words there. Apologies. I just don't think Kansas City right now is in the position where they can be stopped. I know Philly looks like the team that might be able to do it, but we thought that before. And yes, they came very close. Jalen Hurts almost single-handedly beat the Chiefs. But once again, as Patrick Mahomes does, Patrick Mahomes did Patrick Mahomes things, came back, found a way, put them back in the game. And guess what happens? Kansas City wins another Super Bowl. Now, this is a different Philadelphia team. This is Saquon Barkley. They have a better defense. There's a lot of pieces here. I don't know if it's a necessarily better defense even still, but I do think that they're a little bit faster. I think that there's a little bit more tenacity behind them with younger guys like Cooper DeJean and Quentin Mitchell, Zach Bond coming onto the team as a guy who could be Defensive Player of the Year. There's a ton of questions still for Philadelphia that I have. Can they get the passing game going? Can this team, finally put it all together with the run game and the passing game to be all there with a great defense? There's a lot of that I think still needs to be answered. But what I see right now is Kansas City, who just have, in my mind, a better coach in Andy Reid, a better quarterback in Patrick Mahomes, a better playmaker, I would say, in Travis Kelce. These two teams, if anything, you could look at and go, they're pretty evenly matched in a lot of ways. But I do think the Chiefs, ultimately, at the end of this, they have just a slight advantage over the Eagles, and that slight advantage is able to take them over the top. It's able to put them in a place where they can come out of this and win the Super Bowl yet again and complete the three-peat, the first team to ever win 3 in a row. Their defense now, mind you, for Kansas City, they have been extremely good this year. They've done a great job with shutting guys down. Chris Jones, still one of the best defensive tackles. Nick Bolton's leading a very good linebacking core. Their cornerbacks have been very good. They've found every way to be able to win games, right? I can't bet against them. I can't bet against the Chiefs. I can't say that there's nothing in that I can find that says they are going to lose that game. Unless I see otherwise. I need to see otherwise. I need to be proven that's going to be the case. But I'm not seeing it. I don't see it happening. Not right now. Not right now at all. This is going to be a fun one again. I think this is going to be a fun one again. And look, I'm not saying that the Eagles can't win it. There's always a chance. There's always a chance. But, man, do you know how perfect you're going to have to play to win in Philly? They're going to have to be on, for Philly, they're going to have to be on point every step of the way. Going to be an interesting game, folks. Very interesting game. I'm excited for it. I always love the Super Bowl. I can't wait. I would say, if you're going to say anything, I'm going to say Kansas City by 3. I'm going to say this hits the over. I'm going to say this hits the over. This just feels like it'll be another classic between these two teams. Sorry, Philly. It's Kansas City until they are proven otherwise. But if they upset Kansas City, I will sit here. I will bow to you and say you were wrong. You were right. I was wrong. I should have went with Philadelphia. My apologies. But until that happens, I'm sticking with my picks. But that's going to do it for the show here, ladies and gentlemen. That's going to do it for the question stuff. Again, I apologize. We wanted to do more questions. We just don't have the time. But, guys, thank you all so much for listening and watching. I know this was a short one, but if you guys have any more questions or comments or anything like that, of course, please continue to send them to xbsportsofficial@gmail.com. We always love hearing from you guys as well on everything that you guys have been sending us. We appreciate it. We got these personal questions we'll get to on next Friday. If you guys want to follow us anymore on the show as well, YouTube and Twitch, that is YouTube and Twitch.tv and YouTube.com/ for both XBomb Sports. You can also follow us as well, again, at XBomb Sports on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And if you want to follow me personally, I'm at TheFilthyGuru on Twitter. I'm also at Boom Crew Captain on Instagram as well. And obviously I'm on all other social medias too, so if you do find me, you come happened by me. I don't know what I was trying to say there. You can follow me on any of that stuff. Just hit me with a message and say, hey, I'm a follower of this, that, and the other, and I'll be, all right, fine, and I'll add you to my friend group. I really don't care. I love interacting with you guys. I appreciate it so much. You guys are awesome fans. You're amazing. We love you and appreciate you guys, and thank you all so much for what you do for us. It means a lot. Be sure, ladies and gentlemen, again, catch us on Blow the Whistle. Blow the Whistle is going now 3 times a week. That's right, Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. I myself am only going to be with the boys on Mondays, unfortunately, for Blow the Whistle. But you can catch our boy No Gimmicks Nick Johnson on Wednesdays with Blow the Whistle as well. And our new boy Frank the Tank, the Italian stallion himself, is going to be joining us on Fridays. Yes, you don't know Frankie yet, folks, but you will very soon. He's a young gun that we really come to love and like, and we're going to be bringing him in on Fridays to have some fun on that. And I can't wait to see what he brings, ladies and gentlemen, because he is a smart kid. He's a fun dude. He brings the comedy, the energy. We love it. We absolutely can't wait. We've also got a lot more things coming social media-wise, so be on the look for that too. And also this Friday, we got Bad Karma Wrestling going down, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. BK Dub is going this Friday to recap the Royal Rumble, which... it was good. It was good. So make sure, guys, to go check that out. It's our boy No Gimmicks Nick Johnson and David Double D Dykstra talking everything in WWE, AEW, TNA, and all the wrestling world across the land. All the big news that's happening there. Be sure to check that out. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get out of here. I will not be here this Friday. Like I said, I'm going to be on doing a little bit of a work business trip. But I will be thinking about all of you while I'm away. Thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all so much for watching. We will see you guys when we are back next Monday. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, much love and peace out, Boom Crew.